Welcome back. We're now going to talk about augmented and diminished intervals. So when I talk about augmenting an interval, I'm talking about making it larger by a half step. When I talk about a diminished interval, I'm talking about making it smaller by a half step. But when do these intervals actually come up and about? That's what we need to talk about. So first of all, when we're talking about perfect intervals, when you make them a half step larger, they get augmented. When you make them a half step smaller, you make them diminished. That's all the time. For a perfect interval, there's only 3 different kinds. It's either diminished, perfect, or augmented. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's say we're in the key of F major. Let's put up my handy dandy treble clef. So we're in the key of F major, which has 1 flat. And I'm going to have a B flat. We have a perfect fourth here because F, 1, G, 2, A, 3, B flat, 4. So there's my perfect fourth. And in the key of F, we have a B flat. So that's a perfect fourth. What if I wanted it to be B natural? So I would have F to B natural. That would be an augmented fourth. What if I wanted a diminished fourth? I'd have F to B double flat because I have to lower it by a half step. That would be a diminished fourth. Let's talk about, Let's talk about imperfect intervals. If I'm in an imperfect interval, let's start with a major, whatever it's going to be. Let's talk about a major third. Let's go back to my key of F major, 1 flat. Here's my major third. F to A, 1, 2, 3. My major third, if I want to make it a half step bigger, it's going to be A sharp. My major third is going to become an augmented third. But if I want to make it smaller, a half step smaller, my F to A is going to go A flat, and then I'm going to go minor. And if I want that minor third to get smaller, A flat goes to A double flat, and it's diminished. So it's a little different for imperfect intervals than perfect intervals. Okay, so we need to talk about diminished fifths and augmented fourths, which are actually the same thing. Think about it. When we talk about inverted intervals, 5 plus 4, and then diminished becomes augmented. But these are special because they're called tritones. So there are 3 whole steps, and tritones used to be known as the devil's interval. And the reason why they're kind of super cool is because they're exactly halfway in an octave. In a actual key, they don't show up, but you can find them. F to B, natural, is, depending on how you spell it, now this is where spelling comes in, is an augmented fourth. So let's go back to, excuse me, sorry. Here we go. So if I'm in bass clef here, let's be fair. Here's an F to B natural. Now in the key of F major, which we all know is 1 flat, there's no flat on this. So if you were using our hands, it's a half step bigger, which makes it augmented. Perfect would be F to B flat, but it's not. It's a half step bigger because it's a B natural, not a B flat. This is an augmented fourth. If I wanted to spell it like a diminished fifth, I'd have my F and I'd have a C flat. This is a diminished fifth. Composers kind of obsessed with tritones, and the composer that's most famously obsessed with the tritone, Leonard Bernstein, Maria, that is very, very famous. It's also The Simpsons. That's the other one that's pretty modern and famous. Okay, and that's enough of augmented and diminished intervals for now.